ho, Lord, thunder, and Jesus, everybody. We're back on a Sunday for some more excellent Ukrainian content. And we got a special thing for you today, fellow babies. You're going to love this. We got Starsky in, of course. Hello, buddy. Oh,
hey,
there we go. All right. We might have a latency issue. I'll do a reset on the back and get y'all in time. We got Nick Suter in because with a Q&A show and whatnot, I wanted to make sure I was backed up properly here. How's it going?
Well, if you wanted to make sure you were backed up properly, I have no idea what you did calling me, but I will. I'm here, so.
Nick is like medication for somebody. No, we're not going there. And the reason we're having a really cool Q&A session today is we got our man on the scene and coming to join us for a chat, a Q&A session, as well as some fundraising. We got Viper. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, man. What a privilege, and thanks for the invite.
It's going to be a great little session, I hope. So there's going to be some that know you here. There's going to be some that not. So why don't we turn the floor right to yourself and you can give us a little introduction, what's going on and stuff, and then we'll dive right in and get people educated.
Okay, I'm Viper, originally from South Africa. Been fighting in Ukraine on the front lines. I am from the 42nd Brigade, 422 company, and we are a separate attack battalion, if you want to call that. Born, raised South African, spent 5 years in Georgia before coming to Ukraine. So very familiar with Eastern Europe, and now currently in the front line. We in the front line, so all good. Starting to get winter now, so then it dials down a bit, and all good from our side. I mean, as good as it can be.
Yeah. Speaking of winter there, Viper, let's touch on that quick. How are the troops and everybody feeling about winter coming on? Because there must be a few different sides to good and bad and whatnot with that, right?
Yeah, I think, look, the winter time brings challenges to us. Things like getting to the front line. If it's ice down, it's difficult to get in and out from the zero or positions. So that brings difficulty. But on the other side, there's also drones still there. They're always there, but their cycling time goes down quite tremendously. So they're not that frequent. So that's always a good thing. Artillery still shoots. All is still as it is. If it's snowing and it's wet, then the drones can't fly. So that's always good. So reconnaissance goes down a bit, and your FPVs, which we hate, that goes down a lot. So it makes a better time. Also, from an attack point of view, you cannot obviously see mines, things like that. So there's literally probably no attack. So it's a lot of you send me one artillery round, I send you one back type of scenario.
Right. Speaking of drones there, perfect thing because we got to get everybody on the fact that we're also fundraising today, right? So fill us in there, Viper.
So our unit requires 2 Maverick Pro 3Ts. I am not from the drone team, if you were wondering. I am a team leader in the attack battalion or the attack company. And what we do with the Maverick Pro 3Ts, and specifically why we use them, is because we use them for reconnaissance. The 3Ts are thermal, which means we can use them at nighttime. And I mean, if there's an attack, we can utilize them to see exactly where the enemy is and then plan. We don't just go and randomly try and attack the enemy. There's strategic planning and things like that. That's very important to save lives. Also, we can see attacks preempted, which means that we can roll out quicker, we can be there quicker to support the guys that's actually on position and does the defending of that position. So hence the reason why we're specifically looking for those 2 drones.
Right.
And it makes our job so much easier, and it saves lives. There's no two ways about it.
Yes. And saving lives is something that's worth donations to anytime. Right. Big reminder here to everybody watching. This is a Q&A session and you're all invited. So at the Shills, send in some questions and we'll get them read out and stuff. And I do believe I will turn to operator Starsky with one right now.
Thank you so much, bro. Viper, it's a big pleasure to see you tonight with us. I have probably a mainstream question. Do you still do sniping, and what do you use? What kind of rifle and scope? Is it something Ukrainian, or is it something from like our partners' surplus?
This is my fault.
Okay, so Viper the sniper, I'm going to...
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay, so let me explain. I was a DMR, which is a designated marksman, but that role is not what I'm doing at the moment. So wondering what I use, AK-74 with a lot of rounds, a silencer and a red dot, and a bit of customization. We are having a Q&A session afterwards exclusively to our Discord server, where I am actually going to take the guys through what our setups are, what type of weaponry we use. Of course, I think it's something that people don't understand, don't know, and is not a lot spoken about. But yeah, Viper the sniper, please don't add another $80,000 to my name for tracker merc. It won't be good. But I am not a sniper. I want to make it clear. And yeah, please don't call me that. I am a tag team leader. That's what I do.
Ignore the name of the ignore the name of the. Well done, Dick. That was.
Look, I know all South Africans are hunters. So sorry for the guys that doesn't support hunting. We love hunting, and we are good shooters. I mean, most of the guys that's here are guys we grew up with weaponry, and yeah, we obviously were hunting since I was 6. So,
Right.
and I had a laugh because somebody on a stream once said, because you're a hunter, you're not a sniper. Yes, you're not. By far, you're not. But I can guarantee you to get you to shoot accurately is going to be way easier than a computer guy, for instance.
Yeah, that's
that for sure.
Yeah, I think we're about to have Commander McMillan. He was just a tad late joining us, but here we go. I just got to get him in.
You didn't tell me. You didn't tell me he was coming.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not. I'm sorry. I don't stream with the likes of that man.
Here, we'll get everybody introduced here.
I don't think we have his audio though.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we hear him. We hear him. So, Viper, this is Commander McMillan, retired U.S. Navy.
Good to meet you, sir.
Howdy.
All right. So, let's see here. That kind of got us all over. Okay. I've got some shout outs we'll do in a minute here. We do have a couple of questions in. Okay. Let's see here. Sorry, I had too many little notices I had to get caught up on there. Let's see. Where do you guys all want to go? I'll let a few more questions from the viewers build up before we turn to them.
I have another one, Rob. What is like the most usual, what is the most common game in the South Africa? What do you usually hunt?
So where I grew up, we hunt kudu and oryx and springbuck, which is unique to our region. Yeah, so that's what we started hunting in a very young age. And then the bigger you get, the bigger you want to shoot. So I've been privileged to be shooting eland, which is quite big, buffalo, things like that. So yeah, the older you get, the more toys you want to buy, and then the more obviously you want to shoot bigger and better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Little boys don't grow up, man. Their toys just get bigger.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. Okay, here.
Yeah, like in Ukraine, we have this saying, like, what's the difference between kindergarten and a company of soldiers? Basically, hairy balls, real guns.
I like that saying. That's cool.
Okay.
Well, so I had a couple of, so you did, before I do anything, I'd like to point out that normally you guys on the Shills here, you have your Boom Boom Fund, and it's for drones that are used for attack. And this is, as Viper pointed out, something very, very different, and I think very important. I'd like to learn and understand that a bit better. So I may ask a question or two about that if that doesn't come in from the live chat. But if you're listening in the live chat right now, you've seen Commander around a lot before, and he obviously really knows what he's doing. But you can talk to him basically every week. You see Starsky around a lot before. Well, I'm trying to be generous, Commander. I'm you know, you guys see Starsky. Viper is a rare treat. So I think if you guys are in the live chat, this is really the opportunity to ask a question. He had used the term FPV, so I was curious to know what's the difference between an FPV and maybe other like with the kind of drone that you're looking at right now, and tell us a bit more about why this particular drone is not the usual boom boom. Because listen, the reason I don't watch the Shills is because every time I go on, I hear Dick says boom boom fund, and then you hear that he presses that button and he won't stop pressing that button. There, bingo. Thank you. So this is something different. So I was hoping, Viper, you could explain to us the difference between the two. And Dick, don't.
No problem. Okay, so FPV stands for first person view. And what they use that for is strapping a RPG-7 round to it. Most cases, there's different ammunitions. They can use an 82 mortar shell for it. There's different ammunitions it can carry. And that's literally like the Pearl Harbor scenario where Japanese fighter plane would dive down on a cargo carrier, and in this instance it will be persons that's clustered together, and that will literally just blow up. That's what it does. It's what its function is.
Another common name for it is kamikaze drone.
Yes, pretty much exactly that. What we were looking for is a Maverick Pro 3T. That's a reconnaissance drone. It's a drone that recon specific areas close to or opposite. The awesome thing here, we know where our enemy is. It's not that we do not know where they are. I mean, we can most probably see sometimes when they move. And we use these drones for one, reconnaissance. We use them for planning. So what we will do with them is when we plan a mission there that we want to take a position, we will use and fly that drone for probably a couple of days to see what the movements are, things like that, and to plan accordingly. So the other thing that it helps with is from a defense point of view, when there's an attack on us, we can preemptively see the attack. So we can see here's a group of 7 guys coming in formation to this specific area, and we can then plan accordingly. So that's what we use the drones for.
Do you also use them for calling for fires?
Of course, reconnaissance means artillery correction.
Okay.
They are used for that. Our mortar teams also use reconnaissance drones because it's again a scenario where if you can hit them with artillery before they actually get to your position, you are saving lives. That's what it is. I mean,
Absolutely.
Well, and my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but sort of the difference, first of all, if you're not using the drones, you'd have to use a human being to do the recon in most cases. Now, in some cases, you couldn't do the recon. The drones go faster than a human being can go. They're from the air, which a human being can't do. And in a case where a drone is shot down and destroyed, now these aren't the FPVs, these aren't kamikaze drones, these aren't one-use drones. These are, you want to keep using them. But if one is destroyed, ostensibly it would have been either a human being or an entire unit that would have been doing that recon, that would have been caught in whatever it was that destroyed the drone. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair. That's correct. Because you used to send out, in the beginning of the war, we would used to send out a sniper team with a spotter to do reconnaissance when the drones was there, but not used like they do now. So we would send out a two-man team into beyond the zero, and they will go and do a 2-day or 3-day reconnaissance, which is extremely dangerous. So now we've got a drone that we can send. If we lose a drone, yes, they're expensive, but it's not a life. There's no amount of money that can pay for a life. So.
Listen, I mean, I would happily volunteer Dick for reconnaissance, but, you know, unfortunately he's in the wrong country, but I think he's replaceable. That's just me. But, we've got this thing, Dick and I have a thing going. He says the same thing about me in private.
Like
he
my
thinks I don't find out.
It's just
For the audience, I want to clarify.
I must confess, so we normally joke a lot and we'll say, because we're an international unit, so we've got Canadians, we've got Americans, Italians, we've got a lot of different cultures. And when a guy steps out of line, we say, listen, we're going to sell you to the Russians and they will pay us more because you're from this country. So we normally joke with that.
That's funny.
I did cut off Commander, and I know he wanted to clarify something, and I know I did cut him off, so
Well, I wanted to ask a question to clarify. These reconnaissance drones are relatively small drones. They're not like U.S. Predator drones that stay up for 2-3 days at a time. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. So a Maverick will probably have a flight time depending on temperature. Now in winter, they're a little bit, because of the cold, the battery life cycle is a little bit shorter. So which means we need more, because the problem is, as the one gets off position to do a battery change, the other one needs to be there already. Otherwise, you have gaps in your reconnaissance. And as you know, if you've got a gap in reconnaissance, that 10 or 15 minutes can actually be a movement.
Yeah.
Viper, I have a question. What is the craziest thing about Ukrainian military, in your personal opinion?
Well, one, your time. You can't keep time. Sorry for the words, for shit. So, the other thing about Ukrainian military, you know what? In any fighting force, there's positives and negatives. I mean, we learn a lot. We work together a lot. As you know, we've got our officers are Ukrainian. I think it's relationships that you build over time. But the craziest thing is, your timekeeping. Dude, I don't understand. So we've got a saying now, when we schedule training or when we do something, we say, oh yeah, not Ukrainian time, but international time. So.
Yeah. Sounds like Canadians, actually.
I don't know. I find this very useful, for example, in civilian life, because, the other day, like, you wake up, you have some plans, and then, like, you procrastinate and shit. And I go, fuck, we need, like, a schedule, like in the army, like, it works. It always works. It keeps you, like, in time with all your plans. Time management, that's the word. Yeah, but generally, oh my God, I don't know. When I became a reservist, it was really, really hard, to teach myself that there's no more schedule, like, besides the schedule that you build for yourself. That is like absolutely crazy. What can you say about like 3 biggest impressions from the Donbass, from the warfare in the Donbass, in your experience?
There's 3 things that I love about Ukrainians, and the reason why I love it about Ukrainians and the reason why I'm here is your tenacity, second to none. You guys really remind me of South Africa, like true South Africans. The other thing is your courage. I mean, we just spoke about it. There's guys that's 61, 62 on the line, and they're there, and they're fighting. It's not nice. It's not nice to sit in mud in a trench. I can guarantee you, it's not nice to shit in a bag. It's not nice to piss in a bottle. But they do it. And because if they don't do it, who else will do it? So definitely that. And yeah, I think that's 2 very, very important things for me personally, what I love about Ukraine. And although there's mixed feelings about the war from civilians from time to time, if that babushka comes and she really gives you a hug and say, listen, I appreciate what you do for our country. You don't need to be here. I mean, that's always been catching me. Always.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's like children. You've got some moments of brilliance and a lot of moments of shit. But that moments of brilliance makes you forget about the shit that you need to face. So
Right.
again, that reminds me of that specifically.
Thank you so much, brother. And I gotta say that this is something I always used to say after this war started, and we saw volunteers from other countries coming to Ukraine, that even though technically it's not your war, but it makes your presence in Ukraine 10 times more valuable to us, because this is the best demonstration of support anybody can receive from people like you. So I would like to say thank you big time, and Ukrainians will always remember what you're doing there.
One thing, sorry, that I forgot is your way to innovate shit. Dude,
Totally.
You don't understand. I went to a firing range once, and this Ukrainian tells me, now you must know, I understand a little bit about your language, but I am no expert whatsoever. We've got language translators that works with us when we work with Ukrainian forces. And this guy says to me, oh, okay, load this blank into your AK. And he puts this, I don't know what it was. I've never seen it, but it looks pretty much like a huge round into my barrel of my gun, very long. And he says to me, yeah, fire this. And I'm like, holy crap, is this going to work? I hope it works. It doesn't backfire. And eventually he made his own homemade little thing that actually fires like a 40 millimeter round. And dude, things like that. It's that just amazed me, the ingenuity. And it's not if the ammunition or surrounds are not here, they make a plan. It's not like they say, let God's waters goes over God's garden. They make a plan, and they very, very, very good at that.
Yeah. I know from the retro computer community how so many of the great products that are saving some of the cool old computers actually come from Ukrainian hands and brains and stuff. And, you know, we're not talking about simple little, I designed a board, but they're using FPGAs to replace old chips that can't be found and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's great stuff. Very, very creative. Absolutely.
We had a number of questions.
Do you try to...
Yeah. But no, I think Starsky should go first, and then I can take a few viewer questions.
I was just wondering, do you try to learn Ukrainian language? And if yes, how's your progress?
The relic is shit, to be honest with you. It's very difficult, but I can read a bit now. I can say suka bliat, obviously, because I'm in the army. You know what? It's a funny thing. My Ukrainian platoon sergeant and I can have a conversation, and he can't speak a word English, and I can't speak that much Ukrainian. But I always love the guys look at us and say, "Oh, how do you communicate?" I said, "I don't know. I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you he understands me and I understand him." So yeah.
Well, generally, yeah, if you can utilize suka bled, that's basically enough.
That's all you need.
Before we get to some questions there, Nick, I'm going to do a couple of shout outs and whatnot. And good. We'll get ourselves all caught up here. We got Just Jimmy in the chat. Welcome to Shill Apprentice. Love to see that. Thank you there, Just Jimmy. Johnny Nedregard in with some Norwegian kronas to start the new TV fund. That will be coming up on PubChat later. Stay tuned, everybody. We got a cool hangout show coming up after. Blonde Bombsheller in with a cool message here. Big thanks to the entire Shills team for all your help. Big thanks to you for making sure we've got somebody to help, right? It's a two-way street. Love it. And then she comes in with a huge $50 super chat. Alex says to stay safe, Viper. And, well, you know.
Hey, bud. Stay safe, hey.
Awesome. Great shout out too there, Blonde. Very cool. Very cool. Dunk on You's gifting out memberships. Love to see it. Thanks, Dunk on You 23 there. And we also had a direct tip in from Dunk on You 23, $20 through Stream Elements there. Slava Ukraini, Heroem Slava, and thank you very much. Into the pool it goes. Petra Olsen in with 129 Swedish krona to Viper with love from Sweden. Love it. Into the fund it goes. Thanks, Petra. Ohms comes in. If you know the old movie, the Ohm have come and there's nothing we can do. What movie is it from? Put it in the chat. Slava Ukraine from Ohm. Thank you very much. Into the fund it goes. Claire gifted out 10 Shills memberships. Woohoo! Sound the alarms. Thanks, Claire. And then Stephen Walsh came in with one here, $20 as well. So the big boom sound comes in for Steve. Thanks and good to see you, Steve. At Viper, there is talk of jamming an AI. Have you all decided a director drone and hand of control to an air drone, hand off control? Yeah, to an air drone and redirect to an overseen target, like drones directing boom boom drones?
Yeah, so I can tell you this, the Maverick and the FPVs normally run together, they hunt in packs. You will hear the Maverick first, and then you'll hear the FPV. Only reason why they do that is so that it's a target acquiring. Obviously, it's the same with correcting artillery. FPV is exactly like artillery. There's no difference. The only difference is it flies way quicker. But again, people always say, "Oh, but it's extremely difficult." If you can hear artillery round come in and you can identify the position where it's coming from and the direction of fire, you know if it's going to hit you or not. I can guarantee you that. You can hear it.
Right.
And the same with an FPV. They've got telltale signs, and if you spend the time on the front, you'll know. You'll hear an FPV. It sounds like a mosquito. Very, very, very bad hearing sound. But you can also hear them far. If you just listen. And you can hear the Maverick come in and then you'll hear the FPV come in. And if those two are together, you know cover. That's it.
Right. Good shout there, Stephen. Nice one to bring up. I just got one last shout out here. We've got for the Viper fundraiser from UTV and Ham there in the chat. $27 direct donation as well. So big thanks. And speaking of donations, just a little reminder, everybody. YouTube takes 30% of your super chats, and then we get taxed on the payout as well. Direct donations, we lose like 3%, and Viper gets it all. So there's always that thing to think about. But we thank everybody for supporting no matter how they do it, no matter what, right? Absolutely. So it's over to Nick with some viewer interaction.
And I am going to get to that, but to bounce off of what you just said, so the link for the direct donation is right at the top. It's pinned at the top. So because there is I was speaking with a few new people who had never been here before and wanted to know the difference. Yeah, Dick has a little hard time with the ups and the downs. That's all right. That's why I'm here. So it either way, it's the maximum amount that can go to this fund is going. But if you go through YouTube, they lose 30% because YouTube takes a 30% cut. With the direct donation, it's only 2% plus whatever the tax and whatever. So, but either way, and I think what's important about this, and one of the reasons I really wanted to be here is because, to the best of my understanding, the Viper's unit lost their final drone, and these things really do save lives. They save lives. That's it. They save a lot of lives. So as long as they're up in the air, the Ukrainians are as safe as humanly possible. There's no such thing as safe on the zero line, cannot be done, but they are as safe as humanly possible with these funds. So this is different than the usual boom boom fund that I think Dick thinks
when you said that,
them,
when you said that, there is a correction there. Originally,
Please.
the Boom Boom Fund was named because we were doing a drone, but now it's just our name for our collection for whatever we're fundraising for now. Right? We've turned it around.
Because Dick thinks explosions are big. Yeah, and he's like pressing that button.
way.
Oh, for fuck's sake! At any rate, so I don't. Anyways, so that's what this fundraiser is for, and I don't think there are very many more worthwhile causes. So, having said all of that, and letting everyone forcing everyone to let me go on for 5 minutes, because that's what I do. The show should be called Out of Time. Let's get to some viewer questions. We did have one that didn't make it into the list. I know it was actually I was thinking the same question, so I'm going to ask: why a bag? Why do you need to shit into a bag and piss into a bottle? What on earth is that about? So
I can answer that very easily. If you go out of the trench, you lose about 5 feet of sand that's protecting you. And obviously, when you go for a shit, sometimes it's awesome. You start running and you shit naturally, so you don't have to push. But we do not like to go out of the trench. I mean, that's your safe space. That can help you a lot against artillery, against a lot of stuff. So that's why we then would take our MRE bags that's sealable and use that and throw it back to the Russians. So
I was just going to say, go full North Korean with it and just huck it to them, right?
So from Anastasia, Treat, hi, what is the current situation in Kursk? How much land do we currently control? Will we be able to resupply / hold it when the winter / snow becomes bad?
Question.
Okay, so guys, in my world, I can talk to you about a lot of stuff. In somebody else's or other brigades' world, I unfortunately can't tell you because I'm not there. So I don't know. To be honest with you, we keep away from news. We keep away from what people say purely because it demotivates you. And we need motivation. So I know about Kursk. I unfortunately don't have a brother fighting there. I've got brothers in many places in the front line, which is not where I am. But yeah, again, I can only talk to you about what I know, what I see, and what is in my area of operations, if you don't know what an AO is.
Then, if I may quickly pass that on in case Operator Starsky or Commander McMillan have any thoughts on that.
Oh, you're muted there, Commander.
The most recent figures from International Institute for Study of Warfare suggest that Ukraine holds about 1,100 square kilometers of Kursk Oblast still. If you look at the way that salient was developed, there are still very viable routes of resupply going in there.
All right. So
I agree on that. One thing that we will see in the closest future will be more dynamic combat. I would say in the area of Kursk, because North Koreans arriving. We already, I believe, everybody saw a picture of North Korean who became better in that area, and his passport and everything else. But why Russians brought like specifically this number is because they need at least 3 brigades. That is according to Ukrainian field manuals, I would say, approximately 3 brigades to close the gap in Kursk region, and also a brigade in the reserve. So that is regarding the numbers. Now we know that there's approximately 7,000 North Koreans deployed. That is according to the reports of the Ukrainian Intelligence Directorate. So that is the news, but the fact is we still keep that territory. We had some success in the southeastern front line, southeastern span of the front line in Kursk. On the, I would say, like left flank, closer to the same river, situation is kind of dynamic there, but still Ukrainian troops are holding because we did a lot of fortifications. That is good news and bad news at the same time, because Russians are not really good at the war of maneuver, but at the same time, they are more experienced when it comes to the static front line, to the positional war. So we will see. What I wanted to ask is, Viper, what can you tell about the overall level of training of the Russian troops? Because, for example, they are elites that had experience of fighting in like Syria, some veterans of like Chechen war, they already expired. They don't exist anymore. And those new troops that are being trained, there are a lot of cases of Russians being mobilized and eliminated like in 2 days. That's a record, by the way. But at the same time, they already have quite a big package of experience that they gained in Ukraine. What can you tell us about their training?
Okay, that's always a difficult question, because you get different units that operates. If you run into which we do, a Storm Z unit, after the first couple of shots has gone past them or hit them, they run. I mean, that's how they operate. We've also ran into African Corps, which is the old Wagner group. They will stay in formation quite strongly, but again, all depends where you get them and what's the situation. I mean, it depends on where you hit them, when you hit them, things like that. But I can tell you that if you go into a DRG group, you really need to know what you're doing. They're going to give you a hiding because they're well trained. They are not badly trained. So it all depends again on, but you can see it. We know how to recognize certain tactical movements and things like that. We train for it. So yeah, that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That was excellent. That was excellent. I've got a couple of shout outs I can do here, and all I can say is well done, fellow babies. Listen to the ones I get to do right now. Okay. Stephen Walsh comes in like a Boeing 747 that had yet another failure and crash. Sorry, Boeing, but I needed a good one there. $380 direct donation, covering fees and stuff. Thanks, Viper. Here you go, pal. Oh, yeah,
you,
baby. Stephen Walsh is
done.
just like this
Well
hammer for good that comes down when fundraising is happening, and he makes sure. You're awesome, Steve. Thank you so much. I've got one here that came in from the UK. It worked out to be $51 Canadian. There's no YouTube name in it, and I'm not sure you'll want me to be shouting out your real name. So if you threw in something like, 35 pound, maybe that's probably about $51 or pesos. That's what Canada seems to be at these days. But let me know in the chat if it's you. I just don't want to be shouting out what I shouldn't. And then we got Apocalypsu as well there in the chat for the Boom Boom Fund for Viper. And that was a $35 direct donation in as well. And then we had for the Boom Boom Fund, Mary Tyson in the chat, $100 direct donation.
Another good one. Wow.
Let's get some hearts out for the viewership. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. When there's something to fundraise for, when there's anybody in Ukraine that could use a hand, wow, do you guys step up. So much love for it. Awesome. We've also got Normality Remembered in the chat. Love that username. Direct tap in through Stream Elements there, which goes right to our PayPal. So almost very, very little gets eaten up. Viper gets pretty much all of it. You guys, gals are all so brave and committed. Thank you for what you do. Obviously directed towards our military man and guest of honor today. So, things are flowing great here. Tinder Erickson just came in with a tip for $6.66 to Viper. And then we got
It's totally 420, man.
tip in from, it says anonymous, so let me know who actually threw it in the chat, please. Trying out direct donation. Great show. Thank you very much for the donation and the compliment. Let's see here. A couple of notifications. That's just for those. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up, turn it over to Nick, because I bet we got a few more questions coming.
We do. Also from, I'm going to say Anastasia Treat. Second question from her. Can Russian drones with the long cables and wires be stopped since EW cannot stop them? And I think also just an explanation of what EW is would be a benefit to the audience as well.
So EW stands for electronic warfare, and we do use them as we attack units. We heavily rely on drone jamming equipment. We've got a saying: as long as you move.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
You guys there. As long as you move, you are safe.
Viper's
I mean,
lost audio.
because
I can
normally
see
what
his lips
happens
moving,
was.
All right, stand by one. So
one second.
Commander appears not to hear the stream. Yeah, we're hearing Viper, but I think Commander is not.
Yeah, if you're not hearing somebody, Commander, just re-jump in. Let it reload last session. Sorry there, Viper. Go ahead.
Apologies, Viper.
No problem.
Yeah.
no problem.
So we heavily rely on electronic warfare equipment, which is drone jamming equipment. We pretty much has got about I would say 50-meter radius around us that's safe. But the problem also is, as soon as you use drone jamming equipment and you're not moving, then artillery will come to that position very quickly. So you need to keep moving. As far as the cabled drones that you guys now asked about, they're extremely difficult. They're extremely difficult to use in our area of operations. It is heavily wooded, and which means that you can't utilize them. It's as simple as that. The cable the line will get caught in growth. So yeah, luckily in where we operate.
Okay, we've got another question here. I think this is from a troll, so I want to just double check the person's name. This sounds suspicious to me. Annette. Okay, so someone named Annette to Viper. I'm going to assume
that's to troll for fish.
That's really good. Exactly. Yeah. Bingo. So I guess we're all fish here. Annette's going to murder me after the show. So she doesn't know my home address, does she? I'm just saying. why is it important for the world? And I'd like to. She said for Viper, but I think everybody here of the three of you gentlemen is going to have a different answer. They're going to be similar, but I'd like to hear from all three of you. Why is it important for the world to understand that Ukraine needs to win this war and needs help to win this war from our fish trolling net? I'll start with Viper. Yes, please.
Okay, so I can tell you now, because for me, I'm not fighting for, and sorry, Starsky, your age of people. I'm fighting for the next generation and the generation after that. I mean, yeah, so we need to do that. If we not do this, if we leave the way that it is now, and we lose this war, I mean, there's a generation that's gonna go missing and gonna go back so many years. I think that's my reason why it's very important to fight for all next generations of Ukrainian.
Starsky?
There are several reasons. Reason number one is that Russia is empire that in its every show on Russian national television claims that they need to expand, they need to return all Soviet whatever, Soviet territories, and this includes not only Baltic countries, this also includes, for example, Eastern Germany and things like that. And Russians have land that is being utilized to return them. And reason number two is that if Russia wins the war in Ukraine, then it will make it 10 times stronger. Why, and we talked about it, why NATO countries were so much scared of the Soviet Union is literally because the core of the Soviet Union army was Ukrainian army. And nowadays we see that Russians that don't have the Ukrainian army in its core, they basically, we all saw that Russian columns on fire during the first days of the invasion. This is what happens when you try to invade the power that was the core of the Soviet army. And if Russia succeeds, then they will have in their possession highly trained army of professional soldiers that know how to operate NATO equipment, that know the NATO training, NATO protocols, and also can invent stuff. So basically that's what Russia is facing nowadays in Ukraine. Unfortunately, NATO countries will have to face in the future if Russia wins the war. And reason number three is that if you don't fight terrorism, then terrorists will make everything to have you killed. And instead of just raising our hands and giving up to the terrorist threat, we have to resist, we have to fight against the terrorism, we have to fight for our values, because democracy sometimes has to be defended using weapons.
The Tree of Liberty must, from time to time, be refreshed with the blood of patriots and tyrants, which I think actually Commander could tell me more. I forget who that is. I want to say Jefferson, but Commander would know.
Yeah, I think it is Jefferson.
Okay. Viper just turned his camera off and muted for a second, so it's just probably something in the background. He'll be back in a minute. I'm going to catch up a couple of shout outs here really quick.
You do? Can I get Commander's answer to that same question?
Oh, yes.
I do think, yes.
I missed the first two answers, so I may be a bit redundant here. I look at this from more of a geopolitical perspective. And I think what's happening in Ukraine today is the equivalent, or our modern equivalent, of the 1938 Czech crisis, where France and Britain were given the opportunity to stand up and try to stop Hitler's expansionism before it really was ready to go. And instead, you get Neville Chamberlain waving his little piece of paper saying, I have a promise from the Fuhrer that he will have no further territorial demands in Europe. And we all know what happens less than a year later.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of looking at this in a lot of ways as the similar situation. If we don't make the stand now, when push comes to shove, the Russians will be that much more prepared, that much more powerful, that much more well off, that much more experienced, and it makes our having to stand up to them when push comes to shove that much more deadly for us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dick. Sorry for interrupting, Dick. Thank you for the opportunity, and please do the shout outs. Let's see what else people have been doing.
Yeah, well, okay. So the Leslie Bow was the one that put in the $51 direct donation there, where I didn't want to dox anybody, and I just, you get used to people who contribute on the channel, and I knew not to see, paying attention. And we've got, where's the other one here? We've got a sell hashtag for drones, never give up, and never give up, never surrender. I love it. Awesome. Slava Ukraine, Heroem Slava. And that was nothing less than $133 direct donation.
Nice.
Very nice indeed. Now, I've got myself in a pinch here because I could screw up. I'm juggling too much and I didn't keep my list proper. So I think I've got Ronnie Vankin with a $10 super chat here. No quarter to orcs. Damn horde, go home. Great words if there were ever spoken. We got Mitch Ashdown with Viper's Eye in the Sky with a $20 direct tip. Love it. Love it. Thank you. We've got, it says anonymous again, and I've got one in, so I'm pretty sure this ties into Tyler Dowdy, $20 direct tip in through Stream Elements there. And was there a for whatever fund is needed? Well, that's Viper's drone fund right now for sure. So there we go there. I've also got to flip over to we got for the Mavic T from RC William, Starsky, get your hair cut. And that was nothing less than $144 direct donation.
Very nice.
Right? So
that's a gross donation.
Yeah. So I just got to read out some very, very nice numbers. I mean, huge thanks to everybody here. Wow, indeed. Oh, I just got them in time there. See, pulled my hand away, but Apple gave me the hearts anyway. So I think I'm caught up, but I am going to double check in the background because I'd hate to miss somebody's shout out. Unless Commander Starsky's got something, we'll go to Nick for a few more viewer questions. I'll take your silence as a no.
All right. All right. It's rare people willingly give me the microphone because it's hard to get it back, but all right. So for Viper from Heather Wiley, Heather Wiley, do you guys still come across civilians who refuse to evacuate, and what happens when you do?
So I can tell you now, I'm about 5-6 kilometers from the front line because that's where we are on reserve. But I can also tell you that our neighbor is a civilian, and two houses down, there's another civilian, and 4 houses down to our left, there's another civilian. So, yes, of course, they are still here, and all, they're here. It's normally all the people that don't want to leave their property, and that's all they have. But normally the kids get involved, but then, sometimes the kids are involved, but they don't want to go. They don't want to leave their property. I mean, that's their livelihood. It's all they own. That's all they have. So from one point, I do understand it.
Starsky, I saw you nodding your head. I was curious if you had any other, because I know you've seen this before too.
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, it was about civilians. What to do? What happens when you encounter civilians who won't leave and end up through no fault of their own on the zero line?
There were a lot of cases, unfortunately, and not only I encountered, also Brandon talked about them because Brandon specifically participated in evacuation operations, me not so much. And there are like crazy cases. There are grandmas who don't want to leave their cattle or like their chickens, that is very, very sad. There are people who don't want to leave because they basically, there's not a lot of them, but people that were brainwashed, and believe in the propaganda, they don't care much. We have them as well, unfortunately. And there are very, very different cases. So some of them, as far as I understand, are given all kinds of opportunities to get evacuated. There are trucks, there are buses that can evacuate people. Volunteers also utilize their vehicles to evacuate them in coordination. Like there's a lot of different organizations, including military, including civil military cooperation, that help evacuate them. But if they don't want to do that, you will literally not force them to leave their houses. You will not bring police and literally, snatch people and throw them into the bus. So sometimes it's like that.
And before I ask the next question, I do want to remind everybody that this is a fundraiser for a special kind of drone that is used in recon. These drones save lives. And if you, the direct donation button is up top. You can certainly do a super chat. 30% of that super chat is taken by YouTube. Unfortunately, there's nothing anyone can do about that. If you do the direct donation, it's an extra step, but a lot more goes directly to.
And with super chats, we only get paid out once a month. So it could be 5 weeks before we get it at this point due to the cycle of payouts, right? I would like to say huge thanks to everybody out there. The PayPal direct donations from Stream Elements and PayPal and so far are at $980. That is Canadian funds because it's a Canadian channel, but we're doing pretty good here, fellow babies. You guys are rocking it. You guys are rocking it. I have another shout out I can do here from Stephen Walsh, and he sent in nothing less than another $133. So he's at $500 at this point, right?
Wow.
And he says, like Commander McMillan's comments there, Russia got kicked out of the League of Nations when they invaded Finland back in the day. There is a lot of diplomatic work ahead of us. It's a very good comment, isn't it, Commander?
Yeah. I will, however, make note of the fact that the League of Nations and the United Nations are very different animals.
Yeah.
I would also would like to add a bit to the previous question regarding the civilians. One thing our viewers should understand about Ukrainian elderly people. Okay, so in Ukraine, our older generation went through extremely hard times, and unfortunately, their health is different. Like in terms of health, they're very, very different from what we see on the West, in the United States. Generally, like the rule that we use, how to find your age without asking. It's usually, people on the West look 10 years younger than Ukrainians. And it's a fact. People in Ukraine that are like 70, they have the level of health like at the level of 80 plus already, and it's due to different factors like Holodomor, for example, the famine, the artificial famine that we had, like wars, like the Second World War and stuff like that, and generally absolutely horrific environment that they had to live in during the Soviet Union, where nobody really cared about your health. That's why even 70-year-old lady somewhere in Donbass Her health condition is much worse than you can imagine. Generally, it's like a common thing for Ukrainians, and people in like 70, 80 years old, they only live, in order to see the next day so they could feed their chicken. That is one thing. And when you come to evacuate them, they don't really care already what will happen. They don't even care if they are alive or not. If you're 80 plus years in Ukraine, that is their reality. In European countries, you can see elderly people, I don't know, dancing, when they have a festival or something, or like going hiking. I see plenty of people jogging in the morning, And in Ukraine, it's not the case, unfortunately. Our people they lived very hard life. Their health is very much damaged because they went through all that shit, also Chernobyl and things like that. Therefore, it's really hard to evacuate somebody who is like 70 or 80 plus years in a village in Donbass somewhere, and they literally don't care what happens to them tomorrow. So, and especially when they don't know, they don't have where to go. They don't have like any relatives in the new environment somewhere in the safer place. They would rather stay there under the shells and possibly die. So that is one thing that we must understand.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been seen over and over in the world in countless places and different situations, conflicts, and so on. Right? It's my area of British Columbia is very prone to forest fires, and you always get people that just will not obey the evacuation order or whatnot. Right? Let's see here. I do have a shout out I can do. I actually have a couple now. 1 second here. We had a $20 tip in from anti-Trump, hashtag for drones. Send one to Lavrov's dacha. Good call. And then we had we had Blonde Bombsheller herself over on that Ko-Fi site. So sticking one through those pricks for being pricks to you, Viper, I think is the in joke there. Thank you, Viper, and all the brave soldiers. Razum do Premoy?
Разом до перемоги.
Okay, thank you. I thought I could get close enough because Starsky can usually hear through my BS, right? And that was a $50 one as well. So that's very cool. Yes. And now I think I just want to make sure. I also did I do that one? 22. Okay, yeah. Okay, I see. I get this weird double notification for one service we use. I won't start calling them out too badly, but it drives me crazy. We're definitely over 1,000 Canadian in the fund so far now, people. So huge hearts out. And we will have some super chat action to square up with them as soon as we can as well. I'll check because sometimes I try to keep some in the kitty just so, I can pay out super chats to somebody then and just collect it later myself. I'll see where I'm at. Yeah, I'm done. Where do you guys want? Starsky.
I have a really important question to Viper. For example, after the war is finished and Putin is dead and Russians are fucked, and we with our Shills family decide to go to the South Africa and see you. What traditional South African dish that you would recommend us to introduce us to the South African cuisine?
I'll be in Ukraine. You can come and have borscht with me. But there's a dish called baboti. Look, we also love steak. Don't make a mistake. I love steak. It's one of my favorite things to eat, although I obviously in the front line don't get it a lot. But whenever we ever get time to go off for a quick day or quick trip for shopping and things like that, I do stop for steak. I love good red meat. But there's a dish called bobotie, which is grinded meat with curry, and it's a very, very traditional South African meal.
Oh my God, I want to try that. What is your favorite food in Ukraine besides borscht? Because borscht is mainstream.
I'm actually not a big fan of borscht, to be honest with you. The funny thing is, and I can share this, way back when we started doing working in Ukraine, we will do tactical training in the midsummer, and then there will be this awesome little VW donation bus stopping there, and it's very hot, and they will say, "Oh, here's your borscht," and then it's like, no. So I do eat it from time to time, but favorite Ukrainian dish, nah. Yeah, if you ask me Georgian, I can tell you immediately kinkali. I love kinkali. It's one of my favorite things to eat. Ukrainian dishes, probably your steaks is good, dude. You honestly, you right up there with South Africa, and that's saying a lot. Look, Americans don't know how to make steak. They use gas, which you never do. You use wood fire. But I must say, steak. I enjoy a very good steak here, and in Georgia they don't know how to prepare it. So you don't eat steak in Georgia. So 5 years there, I literally tried it once, and the dog ate more than me. But I must say, I love steak, and it's one of the good things you guys can prepare.
I agree on that. If we're talking about Georgians, Ukrainians and Georgians basically share the same dish, even though it comes from Georgia, but we consider it our own because we always cook it when we're on a barbecue somewhere. It's shashlik, which is basically the same. It's like meat on a stick with enormous amount of onion. And that is something that I would really like everybody to try when they're in Ukraine or in Georgia somewhere. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, when we're at home base, we normally on a Saturday, the boys will throw in and we'll do that. But the frontline fire, not so great idea.
Yeah. Now I can imagine that. Leslie Bow in the chat had a member message in there. Is Viper on shitter, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it?
Okay, so Viper is on no social media for good reason.
Yeah.
I don't do anything. I don't do Twitter. I don't do. I'm on a private Discord server, and I prefer that where we vet guys that's in the server. And it's normally guys that support on shows like the Shills, Victor Ukrainian, Greg Terry. So it's only by invite. The server is closed. So if that answers your question, no Facebook, no Twitter, no social media, whatever. There is no social media presence.
Yeah, it's for the best. All it takes is one oops moment, and dude. Oh, I can only imagine. Oh.
There was a commentary from.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Commander.
No, go ahead.
There is a commentary from Driftless. I'm a bee farmer in Wisconsin. I cook my steak over homemade biochar and soaked shag hickory bark. No petrol of any kind.
Nice.
I don't know. I recognize meat that is cooked on, like wood or something like that, or coil at least. Because gas, like it's made, it's like you drop it in the oven, it's basically the same. But when it smells like smoke, that is so good. Oh
yeah. Up in Canada here, it's quite popular if you're not into like a propane gas barbecue. We go old school with the charcoal, and we use charcoal. And it's twice as expensive to run your barbecue, but when you taste it, you don't give a rat's ass how much that costs, man. That's how you cook your food. It's good. And then we get like the wood chips you put in there, like cherry wood or something, Yeah, it's nice.
Now, in South Africa, we cut down a tree. We make a huge bonfire. We've got a specific tree called the kameeldoring, and we will sit and have a chat and eventually start preparing meat. And we don't throw any flavoring, everything. It's salt, pepper, little bit of Worcester sauce. If you didn't know what it is, go look it up. And dip it in a bit of oil for a flame. And I eat it Blu-ray, so for me, dinner is very quick. It's like seal, and then you can put it down on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
I do brisket, and when I do that, I used to use hickory. I switched to oak. Oak is the secret. The oak is actually better than use the oak. And if I do use any kind of I might as a mop sauce use something based in beer and apple cider vinegar, and the vinegar causes Starsky. Starsky's just shaking his head. He doesn't like it, but that's what I'll use. And sweet paprika.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. I remember back in 2015, we were patrolling Kurakhova. Nowadays, Kurakhova is partially evacuated already. It's being destroyed on a daily basis, unfortunately. But back in 2015, we were patrolling Kurakhova, and there was this special place where they would sell Turkish or Tatar stuff, and we would buy samsa. Samsa is like a small trident, triangle, like a pie, probably like a pie in the shape of triangle, and it's either full of chicken or like beef or lamb. And first time I tried it, I wasn't really a big fan of that, but my friend goes, bro, let's buy it. You're gonna love it. And we bought that stuff. And inside there was this, hot lamp that smelled like wood, like smoke. Oh, that was so good. Oh my God. I still remember that.
We're going to start a new show. It's called Cooking Time with Operator Starsky.
I swear this has been said once a month for 2 years now that we literally have to make this a show.
We're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Well, to bring it back more in line with the topic at hand, I'd like to ask Viper what his favorite and least favorite MREs are.
He's actually just in the middle of rejoining here. I think he had a connection issue.
Oh.
Yeah. So
but speaking of a new show, let's wait until Viper recognize. Here you are.
All right. There we go.
Sorry, guys.
It's a banner question for Viper, I think.
I'm going to turn down the bit rate of the room to see if I can save it for him a bit more here. He's having like a bandwidth issue. Let's try now. That help anybody?
Good to me.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I do not see Viper. Okay.
Yeah,
I see him now.
Since we were talking about food, Viper, I wanted to ask you, what is your most favorite and least favorite MRE meal?
Ukrainian MRE is the least favorite. My favorite is Swedish MREs.
Oh. We've heard about Swedish MREs on this channel talking to people before.
They're okay.
They're good. They're really good.
Yeah, eh? I wonder if we should do a thing where we get a couple people to round up some different MREs for us and send them around and do a little live opening and everybody sample and stuff. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, when I was in Somalia, the one that was the favorite of everybody was to get hold of the French MREs. But I suspect that was more because it had a bottle of white wine, a bottle of red wine, and a bottle of brandy in it.
Well, that was the joke from Robin Williams when he was talking about the Swiss Army knife. He's like, "What kind of army has a corkscrew in their knife?" He's like, "Now, some of you have never had to open a Chardonnay while under fire." It's like, oh. Well, so we have a question here from Blonde Ballbuster at the Shills. Viper, when you decided to volunteer, what made you decide to volunteer, and how long have you been in Ukraine? And I expect, for part of me too, is how long? I mean, do you plan on staying all the way through the war? So yeah, tell us about that.
I saw a news snip in. I was obviously following Ukraine since way before that, before the full-scale invasion, and I still remember. I saw a news clip from Mariupol, and I would never forget this. A little daughter was crying for her dad, which just died because of a missile strike. And she was about, for you to know, I have a daughter in South Africa, and she was about my daughter's age. And it's something just snapped in me. So I obviously had skills, military skills that I haven't used for many, many years. And I just decided that, you know what, if it was my daughter, I would have fought for sure. I know that. And she doesn't have a dad anymore, so I'm going to go fight. That's it. I decided. And normally when I decide something, I do it. It took me extremely long to get here. I was blocked by Ukrainian embassy in Georgia, because at that stage I was in Georgia. So it took a very long time for them running around. Eventually, one of my mates that he's been fighting since the beginning of the war pulled a couple of strings, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs got involved, and eventually it got sorted. And for how long I've been in Ukraine? Almost a year now. How long I will stay in Ukraine? Well, that's not in my hands. That's really not in my hands. I do plan to, I have applied for Ukrainian citizenship. And it's a double-edged sword. People don't understand that if I do get my Ukrainian citizenship, I need to give up my South African citizenship.
Oh.
If I give up my South African citizenship, it means that I will not be able to leave the country because I'm in fighting age. So, yes, I plan to stick around for quite a while.
Well,
If it is in my hands, let's put it that way.
Let me ask you this too. Now, my understanding is South Africa is actually, unfortunately, more on the Russian perspective than the Ukrainian. Would you be, having fought now in this war, would you be permitted back in South Africa? And what would happen if you tried?
Well, if I go back now, I can be locked up for 5 years. They have started enforcing that. So two of my mates are currently busy with court cases. One is still in jail. And it's difficult. But that's the reason why I decided to go the Ukrainian citizen route. If obviously I give up my South African citizenship, as a Ukrainian citizen, they can't do, sorry for the word, shit to me.
Right. What a fucking nightmare situation. It's just so unnecessary.
Well, it's something that we can expect from current situation with BRICS and everything else. Even though South Africa and other BRICS countries don't really want to position themselves as anti-NATO bloc, right? But still, I think that, for example, in South Africa, this was done by request from Putin, specifically because Putin doesn't want to see more volunteers fighting on the Ukrainian side.
Oh, you guys must remember we fought Russia in the 70s and 80s in Angola. Not a lot of people know that.
Oh, yeah.
And we really knocked the shit out of them. So, yeah. My dad was in that war.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow. So you got a whole family tradition of service and stuff going on.
Yeah.
That's
so we also. Oh, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Well, we have another question again from Anastasia Treat. Zelensky says forced mobilizations shouldn't be happening, but I see tons of forced abductions / people being snatched and tossed into vans every day. Will that stop?
Question is what is forced mobilization? If we're talking about like vehicles cruising around a town and picking up everybody, that is not the case. Russia loves utilizing those videos where we don't really see the beginning of it. And we only see some kind of conflict, and it's not only in Russia, it's generally the way like social media work. But generally what happens is there's a bunch of people that are reservists and that are obliged to serve, and they are being called, for example, to the draft office. They didn't arrive, and we see them being escorted to the draft office. That is the case. For example, I'm a reservist. As soon as I receive a notification from my draft office, I will go to Ukraine and I will join whatever the unit I'm assigned to. Same there. If you are assigned to a specific unit or a specific type of army, the branch, you have to go to the office and you have to serve. So that is the case. We are not talking about like mobilizing like teenagers, etc., etc. It's a Russian bullshit that they share since 2022 already back then. But at the same time, for example, this year, the government of Ukraine already adopted a law, and according to this legislation, you cannot mobilize people that are, I believe, 25. If you're younger than 25, you cannot be mobilized. Maybe that will change in the future. We will see. A lot of, for example, Western experts, and not only experts like Lloyd Austin, for example, they say that Ukraine has like plenty of equipment. They don't have enough men, so please do something with it. But at the same time, a lot of Ukrainian men died while waiting that equipment to be approved by the Congress and sent to Ukraine. That is another thing.
Yeah.
So I hope that this answers the question.
It does indeed. Shout out here to Joe Medley in the chat. We've got a $53 direct donation in for Drones Vipers Fund, and a big thank you to you, Viper, as well. Like to see it. Thank you there, Joe Medley. Big numbers coming in today. We have done, let me see if it'll do it quickly. So we're a little over $1,100 here now. Yeah. So, let's do our best. We'll be, this is not a one-time thing. We're sticking with the whole fundraising for Vipers unit group. Sorry, I'm lost for words here. Until this is done, because I do believe the number is decently high. You need a couple, right? Like, this is not just a $2,000 fundraiser. We're talking about what, maybe 16K or something, Viper?
It's about a $8,000 fundraiser. It's just because of the specific type of drone. It's a very expensive drone. It's not a cheap drone. If it was FPVs, hey man, we can do it for cheap.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because it's a thermal drone, it's the thermal camera is very expensive on them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but very necessary, right? So, we'll keep it up. We'll keep pushing. Later on this afternoon, like I was saying there, we got a pub chat, so we'll keep things going. And absolutely. Awesome. Anything you need to get in there, Nick, from the viewers here?
We got a couple other more questions here. Let's see. There was, I thought, a really good question. Why are drone funding not being paid by Western aid? I mean, it's billions, but a handful of millions would make a huge change when it came to purchasing drones.
Well, I could ask you guys, well, the 60 billion supplementary bill, only 10% was delivered, so we won't bargain on that. But at the end of the day, you know what? We do get drones from our from the army, the Ukrainian army. But you must remember, this is like toilet paper. If it's down, it's down. There's nothing you can do with it. You can't reuse it again. And obviously we do use them, and yes, we do lose them. If it was so amazing that they couldn't be downed, sure, we didn't have to fundraise for things.
Yeah.
Well, and I assume that, you know, I mean, it's war. I don't think anybody predicted drones would be this big a thing before this war started. And I think what's happening is, you know, needs shift, and they shift very quickly. And, you know, they still need artillery, ammunition. They need Patriot missiles, which are extraordinarily expensive. And they have to ration those as it is, because you know, when they see an FPV that they could shoot down, it's a question of, do we spend $1 million? Yes, please. Yes, please.
More importantly, Nick, artillery, missiles, tanks, that kind of stuff, you can't fundraise to get those. That has to be a state actor providing it. Whereas drones, yeah, you can do the fundraising. It'd be great if we had all the money to be able to just say, oh yeah, we'll buy drones as well, but you've got to, you know, make conscious choices of where you're going to allocate your money to.
Yeah. Yep, very much so. We have a direct donation in. It's for Viper. Greetings from Norway, but the only name on it is the person's real name. So it is nothing less than $200 US. And it's a direct donation in. So if you just did that in the live chat for Viper, greetings from Norway, please step up and take credit. Or if you don't want to, that's fine too. You know, but huge thanks. That's really helping to push today's number up. Absolutely fantastic. And then we had Andrew Knight in the chat as well come in with a super chat. Thank you for fighting on our behalf, Viper. Great shout indeed. Great shout indeed.
It's a privilege, guys. It's a privilege.
Oh man, thank you.
You had said that. I've heard you say that before. It's a privilege. Why do you say it's a privilege, if you don't mind my asking?
Because I'm privileged to be able to make a difference. My dad, bless his heart, is an amazing guy in my life, and I speak to him as much as possible. And he always said, you know what, if you can make a difference in one person's life, you will never understand what the ripple effect will be. And that's something why it's a privilege to be able to serve, to be able to help people. I mean, that's why it's a privilege.
Viper, is there anything you like to do, for example, to vent? I don't know, read, listen to music, maybe do something?
Yeah, to vent, obviously love music. By the way, Mr. Dawson, I do play a couple of instruments.
Oh,
and love to sing.
cool. Cool. Maybe hopefully very soon you will have no military responsibilities, and we'd actually have a little time to pass a few files back and forth and, you know, have some fun.
There will be time. There will be time one of these days.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I like that. I like music. I like, but the thing is, Starsky, when you see this as work, which it is, I don't take it home. I mean, when I put off my armor plates and things like that, I'm not working. So it is by itself just a job.
Yeah, I agree on that.
All right, so we got another question here. I'm curious if Ukrainian forces can't strike behind Russian front lines when they are pushed as far into Ukraine as they have. Will there be a lot of troops miles behind the front lines? I'm not entirely sure I understand that question. Yeah. Okay. Good. The fact that watching Commander's face suggests to me that I'm not the only one who didn't quite understand the question. It's from Dennis. If he wants to rephrase or try again, or if anyone else has figured that out.
I can say this. There's obviously a zero line, first line, second line, third line defense. And it's a defense built up in separate moving parts. And then there's a reserve, like we are, which is a quick reaction force, which is normally close by. So, yes, there's different lines of defense. In different areas. It depends on your geolocation, how the topography is of where you're operating in, that will allow different type of defense systems.
And you right now are not on the zero line, but you're still in an area that's getting shelled. Is that correct?
Well, now I'm about 5 kilometers, so I'm in artillery range and FPV range and a lot of ranges. Although I'm not on the zero, I'm not on the zero line, on where we would look at the Russians now and hear them speak. No.
So there's combat happening in a lot of different places, not just on. It's dangerous. It gets increasingly dangerous. Artillery
is about a 20-kilometer range for some artillery, but then there's some amazing artillery that can shoot 60 kilometers, built in Ukraine, and I love them. They're the best ever.
I bet.
And there's a couple operating in our area, so yeah. Excuse if you do hear them. They would say good evening, Russians, from time to time.
So those are built in Ukraine. So I have two questions, one of my own and another that's a bounce off of Leslie Bow. Leslie Bow asks, have Ukrainians not built their own drones similar to the Mavic drones yet? So you are building artillery. Are you building drones? And actually, I'll save my other questions until after that. So are you guys?
Look, yes, I'm again not in a drone unit. So the technical specifications and things like that, you need to ask the clever people like Starsky's brother Roman that knows stuff about it. I can just tell you that we do utilize DJI Mavics purely because of its. I honestly think it will be possible for it to be manufactured in Ukraine, but it's chipsets requires lithium and stuff, and that is in China, and yeah, so there's a lot of components. So do they build drones in South Africa? Yes, no. In Ukraine, yes, they do. And we've seen successes like the naval drones. I mean, they've been hugely successful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So many good stories about Russian boats becoming useless submarines at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh shit! Only today there was a commentary on my channel from a dude who was like protecting Elon Musk, and he tried to convince everybody that Musk was not shutting down the connection of Starlink about the Black Sea. It was not there like previously, and shit. Like 3 Russian ships, like I'm talking about the big ships, were destroyed in like 2022 and early 2023 by naval drones that were actively operating there using Starlink. So, but speaking of the surveillance drones, we do produce our own drones. Even when this full-scale invasion began, we already had such fixed-wing surveillance drones as Leleka. They are used on the operational level. They can fly like 40 kilometers, deep into the enemy territory and stuff. But what makes Mavic so important is that Mavic is good at tactical operational level, and it's very, very easy to utilize. Mavic basically has very good camera, and this camera allows to see the necessary details of the terrain, of the troops that you can spot there. You can enlarge the picture. It's basically 4K camera that costs a lot, like the 3/4, I would say, the cost of this Mavic is basically optics. It's camera, the main camera and the thermal camera. That is, again, extremely important. So those things we don't build when we talk about FPV drones. We build them with more or less cheap camera that can provide you with more or less clear picture that you can use in order to strike targets. But expensive cameras, you can only find them on larger fixed-wing drones, like the Leica, for example. And those drones, again, you cannot buy them in the store. They are supplied. And it takes some time and some fuckery in order to get them to your unit. For example, as fast as possible, Mavics introduce extremely good picture. You can buy them in like a store, and or if they're not available, you can order them from abroad, and you can order like spare parts and things like that. So the cameras and the optics, they are essential, and unfortunately we don't produce them in Ukraine. You can either buy them separately, buy them from China and things like that.
Yeah.
I did have a question, since we have Starsky talking right now, from Bobo Uzla. Is it true we are capturing DPRK soldiers using Choco Pies on a string?
I tell you this, this is like the first case when we see that not Ukrainian stray dogs eat Russian soldiers, but it's like vice versa for the first time in history. So I'm not really sure if that would work, but I think we should utilize these tactics that is used by, for example, kebab sellers out there, or like McDonald's, is when you walk past this place and you smell the smell of like this food that is cooked there. I think that can attract a lot of DPRK soldiers and make them surrender to the Ukrainian troops.
Surrender the power of a burger.
Like literally, instead of dropping canisters, there are canisters with like gas inside. So instead of gas, we can charge them with the smell of hamburger and French fries, and just drop there at DPRK positions. They will go crazy. It will kill them.
I know Dick wants to get to the super chats, but I think there was a misunderstanding, so I want to make sure that we get this question, and then I'll finally shut up. Maybe, sort of. I guess Leslie Bowe wanted to know specifically if Ukrainians are making Mavic drones, and it may be that Commander may have a better answer, but I want to ask Viper first, if Viper knows, or anyone on the panel knows. Are they making? I guess Leslie wanted to know specifically if they were making that kind of drone.
Yeah. So, let me explain something, if I may. If you ask, do they make Mavic drones? No, they don't. It's like buying a VW Passat, or let's make it even better. Buying a Toyota that's manufactured in 9 or 10 different countries, and you can get spare parts for it everywhere, and you can drive it whenever you want. There's no exclusivity to it. And then actually, you've got a Lamborghini that's made in Italy, and you try to go to your local superstore to go and buy some parts for the Lamborghini, you're not going to get it. So the Lamborghinis are built in Ukraine, but it doesn't make sense to mass produce Mavics, which again is like buying a BMW 1 Series.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. We got Darren Vaughn in here with a super chat. Viper, is your daughter in South Africa? And
Yes, she is.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's big enough. I don't think you're really doxing her much. and he wants me to play the Microsoft tone when Nick leaves. Yeah, he wants this
For
one.
fuck's sake. Fuck's sake. Okay. No, I get it. Excuse me for not using Apple.
What's our
I get
time?
it.
Oh, you know what? We are literally at our cutoff here. Is there anything we need to say before everybody gets their little goodbye moment? I'm caught up here. I do have to say a huge thanks to everybody playing along at home with the donation game for Viper's cause. We are at $1,380 going directly to Viper as soon as the show's done. Well done, everybody. Awesome. So yeah, let's go around the table here. Commander, what do you think? Thoughts and wrap-ups?
I don't know. It may not be entirely appropriate, but I'll say it as I always do when I wrap one of these sessions up. Please communicate with your elected officials and tell them that continued support to Ukraine is very important to you.
Good shout. What do you think there, Starsky?
I think it was a great show. Thank you so much to everybody who donated to the cause of Viper, and big thanks to Viper for being there. It's my honor and pleasure to talk to you guys. And thank you so much, dear viewers, for supporting Ukraine. This is a proper thing to do. Thank you.
Good shout indeed. What do you think there, Nick?
I like how Viper had said earlier that it was, a privilege to do what he does, and I think it's a privilege to be on here with so many great people, and it's an opportunity, and I appreciate it. And to everybody who's watching, there's so many ways to help. Like and subscribe, believe it or not, helps. That's why every YouTuber asks for it. It helps the channel, and since this channel is a pro-Ukrainian channel, that's a way that if you've got no money, if you've got no other ways of helping, there's one way to start helping. You can help by donating just the small super chats. They add up. You can help by passing the word along to other people you know, and you can help, as Commander just pointed out, by voting. So if you cannot help in any other way, doesn't mean that you can't help. So I think everybody here wants to help, and I hope people will take those opportunities. It is a privilege, and it's actually a rare privilege to be able to have such a voice and to be able to help so much in ways that are really important right now. So I hope other people see it that way too. And thank you very much for inviting me on.
Awesome. I want to give a big shout out to our team here. Viper gets the last words of the day. Don't think I'm screwing this up here, everybody. We got Annette, who runs the shows in the background. She's pretty much like our showrunner. We got Shayna Caldwell, Janine Terblanche, Liam Wakefield, Super Chat, Matt, and a big thank you also to Blonde Bombsheller, who organized the whole thing to get us all together today so we could get our community into Viper's scenario so we can make sure that we can do what we can to help. And a huge thanks to everybody who has helped. That was a good 1,300 plus that's going right over to the fund as soon as we're done here. Thank you so much for all your help, everybody. Let's turn it over to Viper, our special guest of the day, and, somebody who's very, very worth supporting. Thank you for your service, and thanks for joining us, Viper.
So, yeah, Blonde Bombsheller, guys, if you want any questions, anything, you can directly contact her on Discord. She's part of the community. She's my rock. Literally my right and left and many things. From me, I just want to say do peremohi, which means until victory. We'll keep on fighting as much as we can until our last breath, because it's a worthy cause, it's a worthy country with worthy people, and I can tell you that it's an honor and a privilege to be able to make a difference in this wonderful, beautiful country that we call Ukraine.
Excellent words, man. Excellent words. Once again, thanks to the panel for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have our regular group around Viper. It was amazing to have you on. We will continue the fundraiser, and I'll be talking to you because we'll get you on again when there's time permitting and it works out for us, right?
Thanks, brother.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Remember, 2 words that you say everywhere you go. Slava Ukraine.
Gherom Slava.
Slava.
It's over. Go home. Go.